Welcome to the Trippi Coaching Podcast. I am Andrea Trippi, weight loss and confidence coach, here with Tommy Else, personal trainer, and we are so excited. We have a really special guest for you guys today, Jenny. She is the owner of Bread and More, and Jenny started the sourdough journey to find a healthier lifestyle for her and her family, which is so cool to hear her story. She has truly turned this need for her family into a passion and a thriving business. Jenny is not only a great friend of Tommy and the Trippi Coaching Podcast, but she also brings an incredibly positive vibe wherever she goes. Today, she's here to share with us the benefits of sourdough from a health perspective and explain why it's a better choice than conventional breads.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Hairborn Salon. This week we're talking about the matriarch of Hairborn, Maria, known to most as Mama Ragona. Maria has over 40 years' experience in the beauty industry. She began her career assisting in a small Chicago salon after immigrating to the United States from Italy at the age of 14. She is most passionate about LCA Wigs, her company within Hairborn, to help clients find wigs for any budget. Her sweet demeanor and caring heart will make you feel at ease in the wig selection process. Maria inspires the Hairborn team by serving each client as if they were family. She has said that her greatest joy in the hair industry is having the opportunity to influence someone's life positively. Maria is a firm believer that a good haircut can be your best accessory, and she wants to help you see the beauty that she sees in the world through her craft. Visit hairbornsalon.com today to book your appointment, and be sure to tell them that the Trippi Coaching Podcast sent you to receive 10% off your service. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show my good friend, Mrs. Jenny Derrickson.
I am Jenny Derrickson. Hi,
Yeah.
Tommy.
How you doing?
I'm
Hello,
good.
Jenny. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to meet you, Andrea.
Me too.
So we've known each other since 2012.
2011, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
I met Tommy at a wrestling audition.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were there.
I was behind the scenes.
I forgot you were there at the audition. Yeah. So well,
he kind of blocked that from his mind.
well, it was a crazy night. So.
It was. It really was.
But no, I've been friends with Jenny ever since, and she's a wonderful soul, and I love her to death. And about, I don't know how many months ago, I just started noticing in my Facebook feed that Jenny was making sourdough bread. Like, first it was kind of like, hey, look what I did. I made a sourdough bread. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it was like, well, hey, I did it again. I made another one. And well, now this one's got raisins in it. Now this one's lemon flavored. And the next thing I know, it was like every day there was like, a couple different, a few different loaves, different flavors. And I'm like, is she like okay? I'm like, is something going on?
He was actually checking on me at some point.
I mean, like, is this becoming like an OCD like way she's like dealing with stress through sourdough bread? I was like, what's happening here? And at some point I said, are you going to just open a store or what? And I believe her response was,
lo and behold,
it was just wait. And sure enough, yeah, probably within weeks of that, I noticed that she had actually gone online and made her breads available. I wanted to talk about kind of the genesis of this because it is rooted in health and wellness, as sourdough bread is considered the healthiest bread that you can have.
It is.
So if you could kind of start there and kind of talk about
Sure.
like what made you, what led you to the sourdough bread to begin with.
I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
You're not getting old.
I am.
You're not that much older than me, so you can.
No, I'm older than you, Tommy. So truly, it's I am getting older. So me and my husband, he's 56, I'm 53, and both of our blood pressures were getting up there, and our health was paramount. I do have lupus, and we wanted to take control. So instead of started taking more pills like the doctors were telling us, they're like, oh, your blood pressure is high. Here, take this pill. Oh, it's not helping. Take another pill with this pill. we didn't want to do that. We wanted to take control of our own lives. And I've had lupus since 2007. And I've been trying to control that for many, many years. And Tommy used to be my trainer as well. He helped me through a majority of that at the time that I was diagnosed. So working out and training in a healthy lifestyle was paramount in my lupus diagnosis. So a healthy lifestyle is part of that. But getting older, people just don't understand that how healthy living is going to help you as you get older. It's not just one or the other. It really is a combination of both. And I did a lot of research. And that sourdough journey really was a part of it. So the information really is out there. So sourdough itself lowers the glycemic index of your entire meal. So really what that means is that it is gentler on your blood sugar levels for your entire meal. So with that, it's rich in fiber. It has the prebiotics. It helps your gut health. And really, I had my entire life, I've had gut problems. I think it's definitely just genetics for me. But I started eating sourdough and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. And so it really stemmed from there.
Yeah.
So we started there. We just started making the sourdough bread and I'm like, wow, I feel good.
And what caused you to decide to just make it yourself rather than go get it somewhere?
Have you ever read the back of your bread bag?
Yeah.
You gotta hire her for this too.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say there's 100 ingredients on the back of your bread bag, but there's probably at least 20.
Yeah.
And sourdough, it is flour, salt, water, and starter. That's it.
Isn't that amazing?
That's it.
Now tell me about this starter, because I've seen this goop that you make, and it seems like it's very sensitive.
It is. It's like having a child.
Yeah,
You have to feed it every day.
And I'm curious about this. Yeah.
First of all, my starter's name is Frodo.
Oh, we have a
Okay.
And it is.
That was going to be my next question. Is what's its name?
His name is Frodo. It is a thing to name your starter, so don't come at me for that. So his name is Frodo, and I really thought at the beginning that I was not going to be able to do this well at all because I don't keep a plant alive. I'm lucky that my 4 kids lived. So the starter, it takes like 14 days to become an active starter that you can make bread with. So I'm like, okay, let's see if I can do this. So you take flour and water and mix it up and then leave it there. That's it. And then the next day you add more.
Is it like just fermenting?
That's exactly what it's doing. It's fermenting.
Okay.
It's taking wild bacteria from the air and fermenting. And every day you take a little bit out and then add more flour and add more water, and it takes more bacteria and it just does its thing and you let it chill. And then after 14 days, I mean, literally after about 3 days, you're going to start seeing activity. You're going to start seeing bubbles. You're going to start seeing it grow. And it's kind of wild. It really
sounds
is.
wild, yeah.
and it's the fermentation that is really good on the blood sugar, just like the apple cider vinegar and stuff. So that's why she's saying it lowers that whole blood sugar level, which is so good for you. Lactic bacillus bacteria. So it's the good bacteria. The good bacteria that you want in your microbiome.
Exactly. And after 14 days, you can start making bread with it, and that's your starter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you successfully make some sourdough bread. Everybody likes it.
Yes.
And then you decided, let's try making some different variations of it.
Well, yeah, I started making it for my family then. And then my family's like, oh, this is really good. And I'm like, oh, you're just jiving me. I'm like, I'm your mom. You have to say that.
Yeah.
And so then I started doing it for people at work. And they started saying that it was good as well. And then repeatedly asking me for bread. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So so then I started trying other things and other recipes. And at first I was just looking up recipes online, but then I started going to social media and Instagram, and I'm like, I call them the sourdough ladies.
Yeah.
there's these micro bakeries or cottage bakeries. So they have licenses to bake out of their home, and they've got like 500,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
And
Is there a sourdough community?
there is a sourdough community, and they are so loving, and they are really a community. And
Yeah, sure.
if you reach out to them, I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. You ask them a question and they answer you.
Oh, that's great. That's great support.
It's awesome support. You
Yeah.
have a question. I seriously, I had my first farmer's market, and I had a question about how I was making something, and it was last minute. And this one woman, and she's in Oklahoma, and she has got so many followers. I'm like, there's no way she's going to answer my question, but I was desperate, and I'm like, I'll just reach out and ask her. And she answered.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, it just meant so much.
Sourdough and nice people go
Yes.
hand in hand.
Now, since then, I've noticed that your menu has expanded beyond just sourdough
It has.
bread loaves. What else are you making, and share some of that with us? How
Sure.
you ended up getting to those things?
Well, when you make starter,
Mhm.
so when you make the sourdough starter, you have to take some of the sourdough starter away to add to your starter. So that is called discard.
Okay.
So you can make things with the discard. So there's your active starter and your unfed starter. So that's the discard. So you can make recipes with your discard. You can make anything, really. You can make pancakes, you can make cookies, and that's the other stuff that I'm making now.
Yeah.
So I'm making a lot of treats, and that's what's on my menu now too, is like banana bread, sourdough banana bread, sourdough cookies. Gosh, what else am I making? It's off the top of my head. Granola bars. That's a big thing.
Really? So the starter, is it already, the discard is fermented still?
It is, but inactive. So it's like all of the bacteria is like dormant right now
Okay.
because it hasn't been fed,
Got it.
right? It doesn't have fresh flour to feed
Understood.
on.
Okay.
Right. So if you give it fresh flour, then it becomes active. So it's all about peaking, right? You're going to give it some flour. It's going to peak up because it's feeding on that flour, and then it doesn't have the flour anymore, and it deflates.
Tell me about how you incorporate sourdough bread into your personal diet and your day now, because I'm imagining that I'm sure you have to sample things to see if it tastes good and everything. But I mean, let's say that somebody wanted to try incorporating sourdough bread into their day. Like, how would you recommend? What does it pair well with? You know?
Oh, sure. So actually, I had somebody come and pick up an order today, and I saw on social media somebody tried to make a sourdough bread out of unfed starter, and they made it look so easy. So I had somebody pick up an order of cinnamon swirl bread. So I made that for them, and while I made that for them with the active starter, I made a cinnamon swirl with unactive starter to see what the difference was. And I actually have a picture of it online right now. And the active starter bread is just a sourdough bread. It's full, light, and fluffy, and it looks wonderful. And the unactive starter bread is dense and not fully inflated. It does not look light and airy at all. It looks like a brick.
Okay.
To your question, in the morning, I would have that cinnamon swirl bread.
Yeah.
Right, with like coffee. And I'm going to still have that lower gluten, right? The glycemic index is still going to be lower. And really, that is what I'm going to have. That's my breakfast, is coffee and cinnamon swirl bread then.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I tell you, at the end of every single day, no matter what our meal, we're always going to have jalapeno cheddar bread.
Oh, that sounds
Oh, yeah.
delicious.
Every single meal. And that's what I brought you.
Oh, great.
I did.
Awesome. Thank you.
But really, I mean, and I don't push it either. I don't push it on anybody. If you're looking to make a slight change, a better change, this is a great way to make that change. It's just changing your bread. And also sourdough sandwich bread.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way because you can't tell the difference.
So regular bread has 125,000 around of the parts per million of gluten.
Right.
Sourdough has less than 200, which is great
Fabulous.
because that fermentation breaks down all those particles of the
I
bread
love
and
that
stuff.
you know that.
And I do love sourdough myself. And so it's really cool that you don't have to give up bread, right?
Right.
It's better for the immune system. It's just better all around
Well,
for inflammation and everything.
Exactly. It's not just you're not just being able to have bread. You're reaping the rewards of having that bread.
And
So
I'm just starting to get into gluten-free. I have gluten-free brownies available right now, and I'm trying to get into the gluten-free bread, except it's really hard to do gluten-free bread.
So what is the base of that then? Is it a rice base or a corn?
Actually, I'm doing King Arthur's gluten-free 1-for-1.
Oh.
So I made a gluten-free starter,
Oh, okay.
which was it's just like making a regular starter, but you're doing it with the gluten-free flour.
Okay. And that bubbles and ferments
Sure
and all
did.
that. Oh, look at that.
Smells really nasty, but it did. But it did.
I don't know if you were just I saw a video where you were explaining how to do it, or maybe you were selling. Are you selling starter? Is it?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Dehydrated starter. So it's not the actual starter itself, but it's dehydrated into a powder. And all you have to do is add water.
Oh, how cool is that?
And then in 3 days, you'll be able to use it.
So then people could go and try to make their own sourdough.
Yeah. So you have to go to my website, and then my blog tells you how to reactivate it. So you can just take the dehydrated starter and
so
activate it.
And where'd you get the idea to do this?
Yeah, gosh, it's out there. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know. But
It's a brilliant idea,
It's just
though.
something people do. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've obviously.
I've put my heart is in it.
You
You
can
know?
Oh, I
feel
can
that.
tell,
You
yeah.
can totally tell that this means something to you and your health and your family's health, and you live it.
I do. You know, it's. I'm trying to get my whole family into it now. So my husband and I were blended. So I have 4 kids, and he has 3 kids, and all of our children are adults now. And so my youngest boys are our youngest boys, if that makes sense. And so I'm trying to get them to walk my walk, but it's hard. You know, the younger kids are like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, Mom," and that's what I hear. But they're happy for me, and that's the most I can ask for right now.
Well, I saw the video of you at the farmers market, and I could just tell, like, you seemed happy. I was just like, you know, I could just see you sitting there and everything. It was funny because before you got here, I was telling Andrea, I was like, I wouldn't have ever guessed this was something you would do, but I'm also not surprised that this is something you're doing.
Aw,
You know what I
thank
mean?
you.
It's like, it's now that you're doing it, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see Jenny just suddenly making sourdough bread. Yeah, you know.
I was the hippie wrestler.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, you told me that. That's so great. You could see her smile here. I mean, she's been smiling the entire time that she's
It's-
been speaking. So.
I love it so much. It just really fits my personality. It's just, I am so tired. I really am. Getting up at 4 and doing this all day and still working a regular job. But it's okay because it's what I guess I was meant to do it. I truly was.
Tell the listeners about your day. What time you have to get
Oh,
up to
my
do
goodness.
this, and there's a lot of work that's put into it.
It really is. So I do still have a full-time job, which I also love that job too. I work for Northwestern Medicine, and I work in their access division. So I work in the call center. I'm one of the trainers for quality assurance. So that when you call in, and this call is recorded for quality and training purposes, that's me. But that's okay. So that's my day job. So I get up at 4 a.m. for the dough. And I do that from 4 until 7 till I'm ready to do my job. And then I do it throughout the day. So I take breaks from my job, you know, here and there to check on the dough. And
Because you work from home.
Yeah, I work remotely. Exactly. So it's wonderful. It's where my heart is, and then my job gives me the flexibility to do that. And then I get to do the farmers markets on the weekends.
Yeah, and that's got to be cool to talk to people, and and they're coming in and interested in what you've made and buying your stuff and
They
talking
were
to
so
you
supportive. People I've never met before at a farmer's market, and they're coming up to me, and they're the other vendors at the farmer's markets, and they were just like, "Oh, we heard you're new here."
Yeah,
They're
you're
like,
the new kid.
You're
Yeah,
the new kid, exactly. And they're like, "Oh, this is wonderful. We love sourdough."
So one starter produces how many loaves? Is it one loaf?
Infinite.
Oh,
Infinite, because you're going to keep feeding that starter.
okay.
So the whole process of making one loaf is a 2-day process.
that's why it has a name, because it's never gone away.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly. And truly, sourdough dates back to 4000 BC, Egypt. They are the one that discovered that fermentation process. Our American pioneers used to wear starter around their neck to keep it warm. To make
really?
sure they still
Interesting.
had it. Yeah. So, I mean, the history and the facts around starter.
You're in deep here, aren't
I
you?
am.
You're really in
I
deep
am.
here.
She's got the book on her coffee table.
I am. So it's fun. It's fun.
Because of the fermentation, does it have a longer shelf life than regular bread?
It does not, because there's no
Because of the
processes.
right. Okay. So then talk about how you would store that.
Oh, that's a great question. So it's 3 to 5 days room temp. Otherwise, you can freeze it forever.
Okay,
You can
right.
freeze it for about 6 months. And we really recommend that if you're having it room temperature on your counter, that you put it in like a bread bag, or a paper bag, something like that. You wrap it up. Once you cut it, always leave it on the cut side down, so it doesn't have air access
Oh,
to it.
interesting.
So
Okay.
the crispy, you keep it moist on the inside, crispy on the outside.
Yeah.
If you freeze it, this is interesting. If you freeze it, pull it out of the freezer and let it defrost and thaw. Run it under water, get it soaking wet, and then put it in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes, and then it's going to be just like new.
I
Really?
never would have thought of saturating
Yeah.
my sourdough.
Saturate it with water and then in the oven.
And what, it just rehydrates it then?
It
or-
does. It
yeah.
does. It gets its crispiness back. It gets its moistness in the inside back. It's. I have no idea the science behind that one, but
Yeah,
it
but
works.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get started in the sourdough journey for health benefits,
Yeah.
what would you suggest would be the first step that they do besides buy her dehydrated
Right.
starter?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
was going to say, get my starter. Truly, if they want to do this and they want to make it on their own, making your own starter is so easy. It's just time consuming. That's all. All of this is time consuming. So if it's all about like homesteading,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Is putting that starter together yourself. Put the flour and the water together and let it sit.
Let it sit.
Let it sit. This has really put me on a journey of doing other things to get all of the processed food out of our life. I make our own butter now. I make our own mayo. That's the route I've taken now. So
Yeah.
just get all the
That's
processed
it's
food
the
out.
healthiest thing, the healthiest way you can go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how the sourdough journey has made us a non-processed food journey.
That is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. And I bet it's a cost savings too.
We just looked at our grocery bill and we're like, we shop at Aldi and we shop at Target.
Okay.
We get like most of our produce and meats at Aldi, and then the other stuff at Target, right? Our bill has been cut in more than half because of it.
I'm an Aldi Walmart guy.
Walmart,
so
yeah.
It's the same.
the
Same.
rival.
Yeah.
I started at Aldi. I get everything I can there, and whatever they didn't have, I'll get it at Walmart, and then I'm done.
So same concept, yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine, as you're telling me about this, that while you're up at 4 in the morning and everything, those hours in the morning are probably nice to have to yourself.
Nice and peaceful.
Did you see me smile? That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Am I
really is.
reading that right there?
It's my
Yeah.
peaceful time. I start playing Fleetwood Mac,
Oh, there you go.
dancing around a little bit. I put my apron on. I don't know if you've seen my
I've
apron.
seen your apron. Yeah. What does it say?
introverted, but I will talk about sourdough.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured I know you enough that I bet like if you're up at 4 a.m. making sourdough, you're probably in a very like, Zen place. So
7 p.m. though, I am out.
yeah. Yeah, that's a long day. So where can people find you on social media, and how can they get their loaf of sourdough bread?
Instagram, I am at bread and more for the number 4, the letter U, bread and more for you. TikTok, the same, bread and more for you. And then Facebook, it's just bread and more.
And I'll put all those in the show notes so that people can hit those links and check all of those out and everything, and go visit her website. It's got pictures of all of the various products she has and everything. And I see the Facebook and Instagram stuff mostly, but the videos and posts that you make are really cool because
Thank you.
it's very good social media just in general. But I mean, like, it's interesting to see, and it's fun to watch you at work, like some of the time.
And it's the different me, really, because all the social media stuff, I am old. I am brand new at all of this, and I'm like, how do I make this work? How do I upload
Well,
this
you're
to
doing
Instagram?
Your advertising's amazing.
You're doing a hell of a job for someone
Yeah.
who's just
I appreciate that.
figuring it out. So
Yeah, this is so cool to have you on the show
I
and
appreciate
hear
that.
all the benefits of you. I mean, really.
yeah. Well, Jenny, it's been a supreme pleasure. I appreciate you coming all the way out here and sitting and talking with us. I hope everyone will go out and visit your website and get some sourdough bread and try it out. It's got a lot of great benefits, and there's a lot of love behind each loaf made, I can tell.
Thank you so
So-
much. I appreciate you having me.
Well, with that said, as always, I, of course, have been who else but Tommy else.
And I am Andrea Trippi. And until the next time, here's to a healthier, more confident you.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is produced and mixed by me. Who else but Tommy else? Theme song provided by Professor Click. Be sure to check him out at ProfessorClick.com. All one word, KLIQ.com. The content provided in the Trippi Coaching Podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional, medical, health, wellness advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Be sure to like, rate, and review the show, and you may hear your review read on a future episode. And follow the Trippi Coaching Podcast on Facebook for exclusive content.